Good morning, good afternoon, updating copper situation. Check out this clear water you can't even. With a filter into their systems, too bad for the last 2 years I didn't do this or think of it. Watch the water, people. And what I'm showing you, if plants are doing bad, if your garden is doing bad, there's reasons. Check your water and learn how to fix the water, people, if you can. We cannot trust any place on earth right now with water. So you have to do it, and you maintain a good water system. I have just filtered out good water for copper. I remove copper. It isn't like copper's got some fatal illness that would have spread to the others, okay? It isn't. Either it is the bladder, he took on too much air, or he was going into this direction a long time ago. So let's talk about what is in there. Okay, it's a 5-gallon, and we're using Melafix, and you must read the directions. There's measuring here for a 5-gallon. I have heard and studied. I am a researcher. I have studied about aquarium salt. I did not use it. I had heard that the Epsom salts crushed down about, you could use 1 teaspoon to 1 tablespoon every 5 gallons, but you really can't play around with that too much. So you see there is air here, but not a lot. I noticed in the other tank above, you see the amount of bubbles coming out? This is very hard on some of them, and it was crippling even more. Even though they need that oxygen, it was causing copper to swerve around and all kinds of stuff. I also observed with the other tank that any kind of motion of the others coming near copper, because copper was swimming upside down, he swims perfectly on his back. You can see that guppy there. I'll try to get in there. See the guppy, survivor? And you can see the massive plants, pathos I've got in there, which help the nitrate situation. They love them, okay? And the water is testing perfect because I'm using a filter now. Hello, wake up. It costs money, people. It costs money. Now that's the Blackmore jelly bean. That copper should be that black. And copper was named because he was black. He's a Blackmore, and he had copper eyes. Now you can see jelly bean. You cannot see jelly bean's eyes. I had to really examine jelly bean, and no, he wasn't blind. Okay, so we've got the magnifying going here. We've got copper now transported into a very fresh tank. Air bubbles, not a lot of friction in the water to cause him to swerve back and forth. I also know that he always was able to smell food and go try to eat, and then I was hand feeding him. So I'm going to give it a try and do a lot of praying, guys. This could be weeks to days to hours. I do not know. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, sorry about the glass reflections. Got a lot of lights going in different directions. So you can see pumpkin, marshmallows doing great, gumdrops is doing great. Now these two were having trouble with balance, staying upright, falling down to the bottom, being upside down, sideways, especially marshmallow. And through your prayers and good rehab, I have brought a lot of these fish back to doing well again. And I do believe in the prayer. The water is very, very, very important, if not the most important. So I knew when we were told to watch the water, Becky, if you're listening, you know what I'm talking about. So remember that if you go outside with the satellites and their 5G and those cell towers, and you listen to Dane Wigington about what's going on, you will see that hundreds of species of animals and plants are dying every single day. It is not from what they say. It is from chemicals. It is from what they've done to the ozone layer that protects everybody. And I recommend you subscribe to Dane. He is an geoengineer. Look at this. But let me tell you something. You see he's not panting, but he is a little. I just moved him. I just gave him some food. So he's resting. And these animals, you can see the food is on the bottom. He can't easily go get that food. I'll get that in a bit. Also, lighting. You don't want to have major lights on a fish that's doing this bad. Copper was my most exquisite tail. He was so graceful. And if you look at prior films, I suggest you go to my earliest films, you will see Copper like a ballerina in the water. You could put music to what you would see Copper dance. It brings me to tears. You know, God didn't make any mistakes. And I don't care any of you who have just flipped on this to check out my Blackmore that is now orange, and you don't believe, but I will tell you, you must have faith. If I would have not believed, Marshmallow would have been dead, and many of these animals would be dead today. So someone who is a prayer warrior, who is a researcher, and you can get to my other channels to hear why, has a little bit of time to see behavioral differences in the tanks. A lot of people get a tank, they go to work 9 to 5, they don't get home till 11 o'clock at night, they give the fish some, or they have automatic feeders, or they have somebody else maintaining, but they're not watching behavior. And I will tell you, by watching behavior, the other day I told you guys Copper was doing a little better. I saw him swimming around, and he was getting the food. So right now he's just getting acquainted, and he can't show us perfectly. He's checking out what is going on. Now, they have a secretion, and I forget the name because I'm more educated on vaxology and human beings and animals than I am with fish and their secretion of a layer that it goes on to protect their gills and their scales. So by putting the Epsom salt, very little, and the, see if I can get it here, that, see, treats bacterial fish infections. However, this is not bacterial, this is internal. And I was telling you guys before, okay, that when you buy these fish and people stick them in a little jar and they don't have They don't even know they need oxygen, they need filtration, they need pH. Look at this. You would think this fish is dead. Copper is not dead, and Copper is not dying, but he can't turn himself around and swim anymore. So I don't know if this is called dropsy, not sure. I don't think so, but there is no cure for that. And people buy antibiotics, very expensive, and they treat their fish. I believe that this is through birth, genetics, and also transporting the baby fish. A lot of times their gills were hurt, and you saw me have trouble where these fish were not doing very well, especially the two twins Ryukins up there. At a time, Jelly Bean was hanging out at the surface and getting oxygen. That told me everything I needed to know. Okay? So that we have lemon drops in there. This is the 20 gallon. There's 1 day's worth of the Maya Fix. There is a little salt left in there, but they have really clean water, and they're all doing great. And we also know, that all things come together for those that are called for his purpose. I was an animal warrior. I was a planet warrior, an ecosystems warrior, and I was studying the deforestations in the rainforest. And you mess around with the rainforest, you're going to have trouble everywhere. You mess around with the ocean. We saw those beach whales, and we didn't know why they were doing it and why in pods they would all beach themselves. Well, we know now that underground was the sonar. Oh yeah. And then we found out military was nearby using sonar. We also know that dolphins can detect sonar and also help us save other lives. Dolphins are one of the most amazing mammals on this earth. Look at gumdrops with the yellow tail. Totally fine after what I was going through with this. So whatever has hit them was, I believe, through the water, also genetics, also God knows what they went through when they were babies, transported into bags and moved from place to place. Then you have no electricity, and you have hot and cold where they can die. You saw Bugsy go down, boom, right after loss of electricity, and a water change which can kill your fish. Got to be careful, people. Float the ice bottles like you saw me to try to get the tank pretty cool. Now, in ponds, they can live at 100 degrees and no problem, but they were raised that way, so they're used to the hot water in the ponds. And they can live up to 200 years, some of them, the koi. Unfortunately, man's best friend can't. I don't understand that. Okay, I have also seen behaviors. You think they don't have brains? They don't have feelings? When one fish went down, you could see other fish try to poke it. I have videos on that. And get the other fish up. They knew. I'm contemplating whether to put Jelly Bean in the water with the other black moor, which is now orange, named Copper, because of companionship. We know that they do better with companions. Not a lot, and they have to be the same type of fish. So these are fancy tail. So you can put an Aranda with a Ryukin or a black moor. Obviously the guppy that's still alive is, I don't suggest you get guppies, trust me. I have had it with them. Look at Lemon Drop, my little cherub with that head. Now I felt funny about taking her away from the other Arandas, but She's tiny, and I've had her almost a year, and I believe I got her in March. So she could be approaching a year and a half to 2 years of age. The Ryukins here that I thought I was going to lose too, you could see Sparkle, who's doing great, was really having trouble staying afloat right side up, and Sparkle's doing great. And when they come down like this, they sleep. Early after they eat, they will sleep. And they can't shut their eyes, so you don't know, are they sleeping? And I will tell you, when you see them healthfully, when they're healthy, go down, all of them at once, down to the bottom, they're sleeping. But if they hang out down on the bottom a little too long, they're not doing well. Or if they're pregnant. So you have to, it's really important to do observations. Take notes if you have to. And know this hobby, with what we've got going on with energy crisis, my biggest fear is losing electricity. So you want to have on hand power cords that go into a digital type of compressor, or these things, okay? When the electricity goes out, they're charged enough to go for several hours, and you want to maintain having plenty of them in case you lose electricity. You need filtration, but most of all, we need those air bubbles. So you can rest assured, okay, the filter's not working for a while, but you've got to get the temperature at hand. Hopefully you've got ice or whatever you can do. See the water? They need those air bubbles. And I also learned that the plants that are good for them during the day are great because they fight nitrates. But if they're having a lung problem and they can't breathe, it will take away oxygen from them in the evening. Did not know that. Study, people. Do your own research. And we're going to close right now with prayers for copper. And we also know that God doesn't want us to love anything, not even the world, because you have to love Him first, and then yourself. If you love yourself, you can love others. And that's what it's all about, people. Love. If I was someone who was heartless, who didn't feel, you just take this goldfish, throw it in the lake out back. I made sure Bugsy was gone. And this is what I'm doing now. I will give this all the time it needs. I don't think the damage that is done to copper, I think it's pretty bad. But I still won't be able to end copper's life. I believe it's up to God. And you can say, you're merciless. Listen, people, I don't believe in mercy killings. Thou shalt not kill. I had a sister who's radical left talked me into my 14-year-old little poodle, Coco Chanel, because I'm a makeup artist, anyway, told me to go put her to sleep because it was inhumane. To this day, I don't like that day where I took her out in the sun to say, this is your last day on earth. Oh no. No. I will not make that decision again. And this is what Canada has done with a program called MAIDS, euthanasia. Well, check me out on the Chats in Prayer. You can find out what Canada is up to. And anybody who is controlled can't say a lot here, people. Figure it out. Our First Amendment, it's gone. And I'll be lucky if I get to have this up, because it's the way it is. Do not be scared, be prepared. Open up that Bible. He wants to hear from you. It's never too late to change your life. It's never too late to pray. Say, I'm sorry. Just do it. Look at these little angels on our friends. Look at Lemon Drop. They're just amazing. See my phone in the reflection? Sorry, I'm on the ground. I've got the tank on the ground. And I'm showing you their little friend. They have no idea what has just happened to Copper. All right. So Copper is resting. Copper is not dead. You can see. But Copper cannot properly function. And when I see him turn around and do a swim, that will probably be because of your prayers and that we didn't give up. But sometimes we have to just pray God will do what he's supposed to do with this little sweet, beautiful black moor that morphed to orange. Look at his eyes. Can you imagine being all black with those eyes? Scroll down and try to get some of my older videos and see what color he was. Check out his beautiful tail. Oh, and by the way, see him move? Some of them have 4 little areas of their tail. I think he does. You can also see his dorsal fin. There's a black stripe. That's the last of his black stripe. So it's only been maybe a half an hour, 40 minutes since I moved him here to therapeutic land. By the way, therapeutics are great. Do your own research. Don't listen to others like our grapefruit that we told you about. Don't listen. Do the opposite. Do your own research. Keep looking up because he's looking down. He didn't forget your address. He didn't forget mine. Open up that Bible if you got a little smidge of faith. And miracles can happen. Not just for me, but for everybody. And by the way, don't be a Thomas that doubts everything. Miracles do happen. Keep praying. And I keep saying, keep praying. Don't forget to open up that Bible. I love you all. If I don't say your names every day, I have so much to pray about. How about you? Keep looking up.